All right, welcome back, YouTube. So we're gonna do our Shaman review of Showdown in the Badlands. We're gonna get right into it. Our first Shaman legendary here is Scar the Catastrophe. It's a 7 mana 7/7 elemental with Battle Cry. Deal 1 damage to all enemies. So it's not just exclusive to like minions. It's all enemies. Improved by each turn in a row if you played an elemental. Now I've sat here like for a little bit thinking about this card before I started recording it because I'm like, what's the actual possibility of you building this up and making like an OTK out of this? Because like it's improved by each turn in a row you play elemental. So if you consistently play, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or whatever until turn 7, because this counts as an elemental. I don't know if it goes towards that or not. But it deals 8 damage to everything, including the opponent's face. And since it's elemental, it could be discovered again. So I'm assuming if you're just able to consistently play elementals every turn, this could probably scale up pretty far. And I'm not sure if this goes away after, like say you missed a turn of playing elemental, if it drops down to 1, but I highly doubt that's the case. So I think it's one of those things where it just kind of consistently just builds up, and then it could be, a crazy 15 damage. Maybe 15 is a bit overkill. Maybe 10 is probably more reasonable for it, but it's not completely bad. It's a 7 mana board removal with the body. I don't really know how I feel about it. It kind of reminds me of the other card that we're going over, and I'll just kind of go over it real fast. Giant Tumbleweed, which I think this might be a bit better than that card, honestly. Deal 6 damage to all minions, summon up a 6/6 Tumbleweed. Like, this kind of reminds me of Harmonic Pop, and except it doesn't swap, between damage and the size of the minion and stuff like that. I feel like this is probably going to be ran more over the legendary, but I mean, unless it all kind of goes together with the deck, but I'm not really sure what to see or expect with Elemental Shaman, really. This card feels like it'd been like a bit better in Mage, honestly, especially with the Mage legendary that they're getting, the other elemental one that splits them in half. This one would have been more sense to go with Mage instead of them getting like the other guy that like reduces the cost of stuff. I don't know. I think maybe I could see some plays where this like maybe a double battle cry effect or bouncing this back and like consistently dealing like 8 or 9 or even 10 damage across 2 or 3 turns. Maybe that could be some potential for this card. But I don't know. It's not too bad. I don't think. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Up next is Dr. Holiday, I think is how you pronounce it. It's a 5 mana 4/5, and this is a Shaman Highlander card. Battlecry, if your deck has no duplicates, equip the staff of the 9 frogs. Now, this is going to be a diamond card that you can buy in the shop, if I remember correctly, when it comes out, or when the expansion releases, but it's a 5 mana 2/9 weapon. It's very interesting. After hero attacks, summon a 1/1 frog with taunt. Each frog is bigger than the last, so you attack once, summons up a 1/1, attack again, it's a 2/2, then 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, and so on. I think that they missed a big opportunity with this card. They introduced, the Mega Wind Fury back with the Walking Mountain. Why didn't they give it to the weapon? Like, that would have made so much more sense, especially because you're playing a Highlander deck for this weapon. You'd think the payoff would be a little bit bigger than this. And the fact that Viper is still in the meta, like, I think this card will come back when, or it will be better once Viper rotates out and there's not as much weapon removal. And I think this will be like a kind of like a hidden or a unexpected type of like good card for Shaman as of right now. I mean, I love the art, and the diamond for it looks amazing. You can look at it in the collection. It like a blast out of this thing. It's so cool. I don't think I'm gonna buy it though. I think I'm gonna buy the Flint Firearm or whatever that one is, because that one's gonna be another purchasable one in this shop. But I think if this weapon had Mega Wind Fury, or maybe if the frogs actually had a keyword to them, it would make it a little bit better. But I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5, because compared to all the Highlander stuff, this is better than the Hunter one. I feel like, I don't know. Actually, the Hunter one's a bit better than this. This weapon, you can play this on turn 5 and it gets Vipered, and then you just wasted this entire card. And it doesn't even have a tag, so you're not gonna be able to discover another one of these or anything like that. So it just seems like a bad card to me. And I feel like at the moment that Viper rotates out with Sunken City, I believe is I might be wrong. I think that's the set it came out in. But when it rotates out, this card will see more play, I think. 2 out of 5. Walking Mountain, 9/14 or 9/4/16 elemental, rush, lifesteal, Mega Wind Fury, Overload 2. And it has an elemental tag. This is pretty interesting because like I feel like if Mage got this card would be insane in it, because they could split it. Stats will be half. It'll have the same effects. Like that's just, I think that'd be so crazy if Mage got this card. And the fact that Mage has potential to discover this card because it's an elemental is even more insane. I didn't even think about when I was making the Mage video. I think this card's not terrible. You're not gonna really be too upset dropping this down on turn 9. It might be a bit slow, but I think the meta is gonna be very, very slow right out the gate with how all the cards are, and then like kind of like what's kind of gonna be expected when everything comes out. The fact that it has life steal and rush, and then the Mega Wind Fury as well, it's it's great. And the fact that it's 16 HP, it's going to live quite a bit. You could probably attack all 4 times and still be alive, depending on what the board is. And the fact that it's going to stick around, and then it being elemental, you could do other stuff to it. I think it's great. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Up next is Trusting Companions, a 2 mana spell. Give a minion +2/+3. If it has a minion type, draw one of that type. This card's kind of cool, and the fact that like you'd be playing an Elemental Shaman and play this on it, you'll be able to tutor something out while buffing it. That's a really good effect, and kind of reminds me of Jam Session, except it doesn't deal 1 damage to everything, and it's just missing 1 attack. But honestly, I feel like this card's pretty nuts. Also, I love the artwork for this. I mean, look at this guy with the hat. It's adorable. Um, and like maybe some type of menagerie shaman will come out of it because of this card. It's very consistent. It draws it's a buff and a draw for 2 mana. It would be even better if it had a nature or like some type of tag to it, but this is still a great card. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. Okay, now we already talked about this giant tumbleweed, 7 mana nature spell, deal 6 damage while summon up a 6/6 tumbleweed. I think this is a good card. I think Shaman has a lot of really good early game removal stuff, but they don't have anything that's like big enough to guarantee damage like that. They do have like Crash the Thunder and stuff like that, but it only deals 3 damage, but they can make it very very cheap. But this is great because it's something that can be discovered because it's a nature spell. It could also be reduced in cost, and on top of that, like you can increase the damage to this. It's not bad. The fact that you're also getting your netting and some stats, and also this doesn't overload at all, so you can do this on turn 7 and not be punished by playing it at all, or like having to wait to do more stuff the following turn. 4 out of 5. I think this is a great card. Let's see. Next up is Minecart Cruiser. Also, really good artwork. Like I love the elemental artwork. Like this looks so good. It's a 3 mana 4/5, which is insane stat line. Rush, Overload 2, Battle Cry. If you played an elemental last turn, don't overload. So basically, if you play something on turn 2 and you place on turn 3, you don't pay that cost, which that's insane. And it has an elemental tag too, so you get multiple of these guys. And if you play an elemental next turn and you just drop a bunch of these, they have rush, and you're not going to overload at all, which isn't going to punish you at all for playing this card. I think it's kind of nutty. Honestly, I feel like this might be a 5-star card for Elemental Shaman. I don't know if it's going to define the type of meta or like the type of archetype that Shaman's going to be wanting to do, but like for on turn 3, having a 4/5 in stats and potentially something that you played from last turn still be on the board, and the fact that it's able to react right away is, I think, extremely big. And I think this is kind of something that Shaman's kind of been looking for when it comes to being like an aggressive type playstyle. We might see like an aggro shaman or something like that, or like an aggro elemental shaman come out on day 1, and that might be actually kind of scary to play against. But I guess we'll have to see when that day comes. I guess in 2 days, as I'm recording this. Um, but I think this is a great card. Yeah. Say 4 out of 5. Maybe it's a 5 out of 5 stars. Like this is kind of crazy. I feel like with the stats, and this is not that big of a payoff. And I mean, all you have to do is play them until the turn prior. It's very easy for Shaman to do, I think. Up next is Amphibious Elixir. 2 mana nature spell, restore 5 HP, and discover spell. That's pretty good. And the fact that it's a nature spell, it can be discovered multiple times through lightning reflexes and stuff like that. That's pretty good. Shaman's gonna have much more consistent healing than it has in like the past couple years. I think it's a great card, and kind of reminds me of like what Flash Heal, not Flash Heal, but it's for 1 mana also discover a spell. What was the other card? The old pre-spell is a 1 mana restore 3 HP and discover a spell. It's basically this, but it does 2 more, and has the same effect and has a nature tag. I think the other one had a holy tag though. This is good. I think Shaman's gonna play this, especially in like the Highlander type deck. I think this could find a place. I could feel like this could find a place in Nature Shaman or whatever, the OTK. And I might even see some play in the Elemental Shaman if that deck does come to be a thing. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. I think it's pretty solid. Up next is Living Prairie. It's a 5 mana 5/4 elemental. Battlecry, if you played an elemental last turn, summon up 2/3/3 cows with rush. Now I should have added the cows over here just so you guys see it, but the art is so funny because they're just flying. I guess you can see these guys right here, but imagine them flying. It's pretty funny. But this is pretty good too. It's a reactive card, and just play something on turn 4, turn 5. I feel like Shaman's gonna have a really good elemental like kind of package that's gonna kind of be able to build the deck around. You might see like mid-range Shaman come out with like elemental support and maybe some other like nature mixtures. And I think this card's gonna be great. Kind of reminds me of like Nepleton. Is it Rush? I don't want what the 5 mana spell sums up the 2/5/4s. But it overloads like what 1 or 2 or something like that. Kind of reminds me of this a little bit, even though you are getting 2/3/3s, but they do have rush, and you also still get the body here. I think it's not a bad card. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Up next is Dehydrate, 3 mana spell, lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion. Quick draw costs 1. This is really cool. I mean, it's a 1 mana deal 4 to something and has lifesteal attached to it. Like, I love that Shaman's getting all this healing now because I feel like that's kind of been factor to why some of the Shaman decks haven't been doing too hot lately, because of the fact that they kind of lack healing. They do have, like, good removal stuff early game wise, but they do kind of punish them with the overload effect. But since this costs 1 for 4, deal 4 damage to a minion and it's lifesteal, it's great. Also, the artwork's pretty cool for it too. I love it quite a bit. 4 out of 5. I think this could see play in anywhere, in any type of Shaman deck. The fact that it doesn't have nature tag makes it a little bit worse. Honestly, actually, it's probably 3 out of 5. If it had a nature tag, it would be even more insane. But it's a great card that Shaman's looking for. Okay, Cactus Cutter, 2 mana 2/2. Murloc. Battlecry Jolly spell. If you cast it this turn, gain +1/+2 and taunt. That's kind of cool. The fact that it draws the spell, you don't even have to like care that you get the the extra stats onto it. But if you have the opportunity to, it's what, 3/4 with taunt for potentially what, 2 to 5 mana, 6 mana, depending on what you do. And the biggest thing is it automatically tutors out a spell from your deck, and so you can play like very specific spells in your deck and almost guarantee that you pull whatever spell you're looking for, which can make Shaman have some very interesting type of decks. And since it's Murloc, it's probably easy to find in Shaman. They have a lot of ways to find Murlocs and stuff like that. I'm not even sure if in standard right now if they do have like, what is it called, like ice fishing or whatever. It draws out 2 fish from your, or 2 Murlocs from your deck. I think that's in wild right now, um but this is pretty good. I think this could be ran in Highlander. It could be ran in probably Elemental Shaman too. The fact that you could pull out any of these spells that have just like Trusting Companion, and you can play it. It'll draw another Murloc. We'll pull another one out of its deck. You play it again. Just like the possibility with it's kind of crazy. I do like that it's very specific. It's not just draw a card, it's draw a spell. But if you cast it that turn, it's very possible. Shaman has a lot of very cheap spells. I think it's very good. I think this is a 3 out of 5 star card. Okay, well that's it for this review. I think the Shaman stuff's actually not too bad, and I'm pretty excited to play it. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the deck, or not the deck, but the cards, and the potential for what Shaman could be in this expansion.